Okay, seems like people are pretty much done with that. Let's spend a minute. So, Teresa, tell us why you either bought or started Cascade Power Group.
Passion for conservation and renewables.
Okay, still the same case?
Yes.
Okay, so what impact does that have on your building and exiting your business?
I don't want to exit, but I have to plan for it.
Why do you have to? That sounds kind of like somebody's.
If something happens to me, or if something happens to anybody in our company, for vision, to say that I did,
Okay.
for the practice of it.
Okay. So let's do one or two more. Morning. Great time to come in. I don't know if there's any more of those. We're just kind of debriefing on a first exercise. Okay. How about you? Why'd you get into your business or buy it or start it?
I like the challenge. It's off, and I had a lot of fun.
Okay.
An awful lot of fun.
How does it impact you? How's that going to impact your exit? So, challenge and fun. Got to be up there when you exit, right?
Yeah. How it impacts it is I'm not in a hurry to exit, but I know I need to plan for it. Like this first woman said, that if something happens to me, you know, I've got 15 people that are making their livelihood off me.
Okay, so that sounds like a balancer to challenge and fun.
Right.
Responsibility. Yeah. I mean, look at my dad had. My dad was a chest surgeon. There were 60 physicians in their group, their partnership. He had nothing to go to. He literally could not even fathom leaving that practice and that business because he had nothing to go to. So one of the things to think about as you further develop these exercises and go through this is, what are you moving to? And if you can't answer that question, the likelihood, going back to that first page, that you will have pain and lack of clarity will continue throughout, whether Ryan or Earl or, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, or Dave get you through and show you spreadsheets about what it'll take to retire or any of that. And I'm working with 2 orthopedic surgeons down in LA. That's where I was Friday. They have started a practice that they will probably be at 10 orthopedic surgeons by next year. That's how quickly this thing is growing. They're in their early 30s. They've been in school their whole life. They've only been practicing a short while. And they're saying, you know, I'm going to be in this for 20 years at least. I got time to think about that. Now's the time. Now's the time to think about what you're going to move to. By the way, one of them, after spending a day together, he's a surfer. His face lights up when he starts talking about it. He's starting to think about what's after in terms of surfing. His kids will be out of college about that time, and he's starting to think about a world trip with he and his wife and how they might do that as a starting point. Okay, one more person. Ken, if you would. Why are you in your business? How does it impact you?
I guess one truly honest answer would be to make a lot of money.
And it's not only honest, it's a great reason, because if you make a lot of money, what will you have then? What will it gain you?
Opportunity.
Okay, so the more you can drill down on this, do you mind if we continue for a bit? The more you can drill down on that, the more clarity, the more specificity you're going to have moving forward. So what's the opportunity? Because the opportunity for you may well be different than the opportunity for Teresa. What's yours?
Start doing all the things I want to do earlier in life. Get out sooner, travel, They vote.
Okay, so one of the things that you business owners, partners in businesses, I would urge you to think about in your exit strategy is how those exit activities, the opportunities, work for you now and whether you want to do some of them now. It's a balancing process. You and I don't know what will happen 10 years from now. So one of the things I'd urge you to do is to not just put everything off for someday. That will get into your business planning and whether you're accountable to others and yourself. So can you vote now? Can you do other things now? And as you drill down for each of you, think about what needs to be done now and what needs to be put off. Let me give you an example. Kind of wash out names on this one. $50 million company that I was brought in to work with because the owner had 4 key employees and his exit plan was to work with those 4 people to buy the business from him. And he knew that this is what he wanted over a 15-year period. He didn't do some of the things he wanted to do in the business and outside it. In the business, developing a different set of managers because he was counting on these people. He put not only helped them buy their houses, their first houses. He put every one of their children through college. I mean, these people had an amazingly rich package of benefits and were really well paid. When it came down, this is why I was pulled in, when it came down to his exiting, he said, I want to be out of here in 5 years. They were such a risk-averse group that they said to him, no, I don't want to sign for loans. No, I don't want to put my house up as collateral. He then had to spend an additional 10 years figuring out how he was going to exit the company, an additional 5 years on top of his 5, because there wasn't a ready buyer who was going to take that group of people who would retire themselves in maybe 8 years. Okay, so thank you. Appreciate your doing that with us.
Want to chime in real quick before we move on?
And before we do, let's see. So, given the impacts that you've all written down, did you each get to one next step that you should consider because of why you're in the business? And if you haven't, if you've got questions about, well, what might that be? Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay? Anybody have questions about that? You all have a next step.
Well, what is the next step? I mean,
Okay.
that's, you know, I'm reading that and going, well, I guess here I am. You know, what is the next step?
Okay. So, what was the reason for you getting in your business? Is it still valid?
Yeah, and the more we talk, the more that kind of changes. For me, for us, there was always something to do. We had our jobs that paid the bills, and if we wanted anything extra, we worked extra to do it. Then that evolved into a point where we got so busy doing the extra things that we had to make a choice between our daily jobs and our business. So we took the business, fortunately. So it's always kind of been an evolving thing, accountability and responsibility, that kind of thing. Never seemed to be, the people above me didn't have the same vision on that I did, and that frustrated me. So it became a thing that we could do together. We worked side by side for a lot of years. And it also allowed us more time with our family, with our kids. You know, we never missed any basketball, football games, whatever. So it allowed us those kind of things, which is very important to us. So yeah, that's all still valid now. But again,
But what's the next step?
well,
Okay.
that's the next
So,
step, here we are, yeah.
For Ken, it was drilling down on what those opportunities might be. Now, a next step I would invite you to consider, that the next steps are, which of these things can I do now, and what will I be moving to? Your statements are all wonderful, and I resonate with them. You know, I have twin daughters who are 26. They've flown from the nest. They're doing really well. I coached their soccer teams from kindergarten through middle school, taking them through classics and competitive soccer. Those things were all important to me as well. The question is, when they were raised to fly from the nest, they knew what they were going to. I didn't. Your job, perhaps the next step, is what do I want to do? What specific things, what really gets me excited? What do I think is powerful in the vision? I mean, I will tell you that I quite literally sat and took my soul out at 50, I'm 60 now, and I said, I've had a really good run. I've been very fortunate. What can I do to give back more? And my ultimate answer on going through that was, I want to heal the world. And I'm doing it now, one CEO at a time, because by developing leadership and creating healthy communities, which businesses are, I am able to have that trickle down, if you will, into the management teams and the other employees and their families. And it truly is about making this world better. That's a vision that excites me. I think it gets other people excited as they hear about it. You need to take that step. So what would it be for you?
Well, this morning was a picture on the front of the little Fiji hut, you know, down with clear blue water. That's where I want to be.
Get that picture, tape it up on, you know, instead of your screensaver, tape it up and start focusing on what do I have to do to get there. Because my vision isn't your vision. Your vision won't be your vision. And if it motivates you, that's where to get specific with it. So what would you do after you tape up that picture? What's the first step you would do?
I'm not sure. That's kind of what we're.
If you were sure, what would it be?
I guess pick up the phone and make the arrangements to the airplane.
Boom, that's one if you were going to do it tomorrow. Another might be, what's it like to actually live in Tahiti? Maybe I need to talk to 5 people who've done. Maybe I need to see what it costs to live there. But these are all small, tactical, incremental steps that lead towards that vision. And so that's what I'm talking about today, in terms of those steps. Sometimes a person who is outside of that, outside of you, outside of that emotional setup, I want to go to Tahiti, can help you with that, whether they have training or not, just by listening and asking you some questions. Sometimes asking yourself those questions. There's a Japanese system for total quality improvement, and I can summarize it here. You can use it, no charge. Ask why 5 times. Why do you want to go to Tahiti? Why do you want to go to Tahiti? Each time you're going to drill down. I will tell you that by the time you get to the 5th time you ask it, you will have specifics. You'll have next steps. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's say we've all done our soul searching,
Mm-hmm.
and we've asked 5 times. I'm here to learn the tools to sell my business and have that amount of money to take and go sit on a beach in Tahiti or go scuba diving in Hawaii or pick something. So what I want to get from this seminar, and the reason why I'm here at 7 in the morning, is that I want to know what tools I need to get the business evaluated, find potential buyers, sort the buyers, make sure I have a good solid contract, and give them the keys. So how do I do that?
There's one before, find buyers.
Qualified buyers.
So, I was up here at the beginning, I asked each of you what you wanted out of this. This is the kind of specificity that I was looking for. So one of the things that if we were working together over time, whether it's on this issue or not, I would ask you is, why didn't you say that initially? We aren't doing that kind of work here today, but now that we have that up there,
Actually,
do you think we're going to cover it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We'll check those things off as we go.
All right.
I wanted just to chime in briefly on some of the comments that I heard, because I think that we're dealing with a lot of issues that apply differently to different folks. For example, Ken may very well be the buyer, and so you're looking at this from a little different standpoint than someone who is the primary owner, who would be the one selling to maybe a third party trying to figure out who it is. So you've got a couple of different ways of looking at this exercise. But I also want to clarify succession planning and exit planning, because exit planning is the strategic thinking about how you are going to proactively plan to leave your business, versus succession planning, which is also known as the red truck plan. The red truck pulls up, has to haul you away. Different problem entirely. This is we need to make sure that we've got someone sitting in that chair, doing your job. And if you're the owner also, what happens to that ownership? We have to have a plan for that so it doesn't accidentally or inadvertently end up somewhere in an estate plan, goes to, you end up being business partners with your current business partner's 18-year-old kid. It happens, and that wasn't your intent going into this business. And so the succession planning is a little bit different because it deals with the accidental circumstances versus the exit planning, which is more of the bigger planning picture on how am I going to proactively leave this business and get money out of it. So all of the issues that you mentioned, Susan. So we're going to hit on those coming up.